here are first-time founders? And how many of you are bootstrapped? Nice. I assume that most of you are, or probably want to sell to large enterprises. So just to give you a heads up, the session, is specific to selling to large enterprises as first-time founders, being bootstrapped. So I'm gonna basically talk about my journey, how I approached selling to large enterprises, and if there are any graduate founders here, they'll find it more relevant because I started selling to large enterprises as a founder graduate. So let's start. Just a bit of introduction about me and WeCP. So my name is Abhishek, and WeCP is a enterprise software for technology skill assessments and interviewing. So companies use our software to evaluate engineers, the technical skills, the technical abilities, etc. Across plethora of these technology skills, and we work with logos like these. These are enterprise customers that we acquired when we started WeCP, and gradually in the last I would say in this, all logos were acquired in 20 months. So yeah, few logos in global, like it was a global deal, and few in India. We started at NIT Trichy. Sorry for my photo is not there. You can see me here. Yeah, so we started at NIT Trichy being programmers. We were competitive programmers. We used to design coding problems for contest, and that's why the name of the company is We Create Problems. So, and that's why we built a software around the problems, and we started helping enterprises evaluate engineers. Now this is our journey. The journey wasn't a great start. We passed out. We worked for a few months, in companies, and then we started building WeCP. For the first 3 years, there was no sale. Absolutely no sale. We're just building our product. We're going to offices, trying to beg for some uses. We used to go to enterprises, small companies, etc. We just learned what doesn't work. So first 3 years, there was no sale, and it was just a moment that we used to do paid POCs, maybe very small number of paid POCs, and we're just surviving. So first 3 years, there was no sale, and in the first 3 years, we built our product. We by understanding problems of enterprises, we built our product. By end of the third year, we got a product, and the next 20 months was actually selling this product. We went to market, we begged revenue, and we hit our first $1 million in 20 months. Now, in this 3 year plus 20 months, the learning that I gathered, that there are 3 stages in our first time founder's life. And I call it like 3P stage. So let's see what the stages look like. When you start, you will have no customer and no product. I call that stage as stage where you've just started and you have no product, no customer, nobody. You have to learn perception management. Basically, storytelling. The founders have to learn about themselves, who they are, what are their strengths. So it's all about knowing yourself, learning how to tell stories. And one thing that I learned was when founders pitch, it really doesn't work. So, founders have to ditch the pitch. So you see these mental blocks. The moment founders pitch, there's a confusion. And the moment founders start, telling stories about themselves, who they are, people start relating. And the same happened to me when I went to enterprises and started talking about myself, rather than pitching a company or a product. So I found that founders are naturally good at stories, by the way, like because you start for a reason, you have some motivation, you have passion, you started, relating to a problem. So you're naturally good at, but sometimes we just follow the trend and then we start pitching. So the first stage is about learning perception management. Once you do that, once you start telling about yourself, somebody will believe. At least one person will believe in you, and you will get one customer but no product. Then you'll have to learn panic management. So, your devs are, cranky. Oh, kya de diya build karne ko, right? And your customer is already paid, and it's like, you promised me, but where's the product, right? So that stage, I call it panic management. So to learn panic management with your enterprise customers, and when you do this from customer number 1 to customer number 10, at least 10 customers, you got a product. And when you get a product, now you have customers as well as product. Now you have to learn people management. So as first-time founder, this transition from perception management to panic management to people management are the 3 skills that as a first-time founder you can focus learning on, and that can help you survive with large enterprises. Now, in people management, again, there are 2 parts: your people, your customers' people. Both these sides are your people. You have to really learn how to manage their emotions, etc. When you're at that stage and when you're selling to large enterprises. So, after these 3 years plus 20 months of WeCP, I started realizing that the 3 P stages of founders also had a lot of first principles, that we can apply to our journey. And today I've just compiled all those 10 guiding first principles, which helped me as a first-time founder stay with enterprises, sell and grow with them. So the first principle that I've learned in our journey, that humans in enterprises, especially, they want to work with people smarter than them. So they don't reveal that to you. They don't say it upfront, but they want to work with people smarter than them. So you have to really handle that situation well, because you're competing against very large people. So as first-time founder, you can just be very honest about, look, we are not very large, but we've solved problems which others have not solved. So I remember, telling lines to enterprises where we used to say, we exist for solving things that has not been solved before. So I used to really build the confidence in them, and that's how we so this is our first principle, that people really want to work with people smarter than them. They just don't say it upfront. The next is, the another first principle that we learned, that nobody in the world wants to be sold. Would you want to be sold? Nobody in the world wants to be sold. People want to buy and take and carry the pride in that buying, that I bought it. So you will find enterprises, decision makers who actually carry pride, and they get awards just because they implemented a solution. So you have to really get them there and make them feel proud when they're buying. So that's the second first principle which I learned. The third one, which most of you would know, that human buy because of emotional triggers. So there has to be some fear that one enterprise is losing against another. There must be some fear about, or FOMO about, the competition doing well because of certain technology and they're not doing well. So you have to really bring that up, when you start, working with them, when you start talking to them. So that's principle number 3. The fourth one is, people like to, work with problem solvers, not salesmen. In enterprises, I figured out that the more problem solver you sound, the more chances that you will get through, or at least you will be in the top, contenders. Being salesman really doesn't work nowadays. The fifth principle is, and this is a very critical learning that I realized slightly later, that sales is a war of narrative in enterprises. You are approaching the decision maker, economic buyer, everybody else is. Your competition is approaching them as well. Every day, every single day, their narrative, their mind space and mind share is getting updated. You are writing them email, somebody wrote a better email than you to them. And now their mind space is updated. Now their narrative is updated. Yesterday they were thinking really good about you, but the day after they found a really good solutions like, oh, no, he's the best. So in the whole sales cycle, there is a narrative war going on, and you play that war with every other competition. So, like really learning how to manage that narrative in enterprise sales is important. And there's a lot of psychological aspects, philosophical aspect to that, but there's a lot of science as well. So, sales, realize that sales is a war of narrative. If you go to ask for $100,000, $150,000 deals, everybody's fighting for it, and then it's a war that you have to win. So how you carry yourself, how you behave, how you respond to customers, how you look, everything affects. It's just that we have to sort of create a mental framework or maybe framework to operate around that, which we did. We created, and there are a lot of experts who I know who have done such, create such framework to sort of win that narrative war. But yeah, that's a very crucial aspect in enterprise selling. Principle number 6, that sales is all about understanding what your buyers want and show them how would they get it. Most of us, as a first-time founder, we fail because we really don't know how to know what they want. And even if you feel that you know, I'm sure 70-80% of you don't know as a first-time founder, because it's really hard. It's about reading people's mind. Really getting there in people's mind is hard, and you really have to get there, understand what buyers want. There's no shortcut to knowing what buyers want. The another aspect in this first principle is the 2 points that you see. When you're talking to your enterprise customer, they should feel that you understood them well. I've asked this question to enterprise, that you talk to so many sales guys. Do you know, people understand them? Do you gauge, do you measure people who understood your problem well? Yes, we do. And the moment we get to get a feeler that the person has not understood, our narrative space goes down, and then we reduces, and we sort of deprioritize them. So you have to make sure that they feel that you understood their problem well. So it has to, there's a questionnaire and a lot of question asking, etc. Happens. But this is very important that they should feel that you understood them well. And the second thing is, after you understood them well, you have to talk like an expert. You have to propose a solution, and they should have a rational belief in that proposal and solution. They should it should not be a fluke that you just mention some great AI solution, but it doesn't work. I've seen enterprises, they don't reveal it, they don't say it, but they do want to understand. Yeah. Yeah, that's the first principle I'm going to talk about. So you have to talk about solution as an expert that they can relate and find pragmatic. So following pragmatism is very important here. That's the summary. Now, the first principle is, enterprises, large enterprises, customers, in order to believe in you, they don't want to hear about you from you. People want to hear about you from others. So that is an important strategy that you can use. How do you actually enable that mechanism that they get to, and very certainly, right? That how do you enable your customer to know about you from others? Or how to enable others to tell your customers about you? That's a strategic thing that you probably will have to impanel in your selling style. Sales is 101 persuasion skill, and like people want to work with people first, and most of you would know this. Persuasion skill is everybody. I mean, this is very common. Everybody knows that sales is 101 persuasion skill. But what is persuasion skill is important to. As a first-time founder, most of us do not know what is persuasion skill, and I figured out in my journey that it is a function of listening, logic, problem solving, to be able to capture the other's convenience and emotions during a conversation, doing storytelling, bringing in social proof, etc., others' feedback. So there is a lot of, there are multiple factors that teaches you persuasion skill. So to learn persuasion skill, you got to learn everything, right? Most of us engineers who start, who know to code, but they really don't know persuasion skill. I was almost an introvert when I started selling. So didn't know how to talk, didn't know how to really approach sales. And that's the reason it took time for me to learn persuasion skill. The principle number 9, which you asked, if you want to know what they want, just ask questions. Nothing else works. There's no magic. There's no rule. I've heard people podcasting about different techniques. In practical life, it doesn't work. You have to ask questions, and you have to contextualize well with your customers. To be a good listener, to ask good questions. We've seen getting entry into enterprises is easier. Most of the people can get entry, is what I've observed. But then staying with enterprises and delivering a SaaS-based solution and make them use your SaaS, not that you're providing service, is the art. And if you sort of get there, then you win the enterprises. That's a summary to my session. Thank you. Any question?
So we've heard a lot of stories when companies try to engage with enterprises that there are a lot of processes within the enterprise and a lot of compliance related things and things like that. So what was your typical engagement model like, POCs or things like that, and how did you navigate those?
If I'm audible, yeah. So my strategy was very simple. I didn't want to do that. I actually created a champion, used to create champion who will do that work for me in enterprises. So talking to DPOs, doing a lot of this, I made sure that somebody is a fan of software at the pre-final stage, at least, and somehow convince that friend, make him a friend to do that work for you. Because as you will not have bandwidth, and it'll become very difficult for founder to go. So the best strategy is to have 1 or 2 person on your side who speaks for you enterprises and get that work done for you.
Okay, thank you.
Can you elaborate more on that? How do you create champion?
Yeah. Building champion is another big exercise, but I feel it's relationship, like how you give, you don't expect, that kind of thing. Like you just make the person feel that you are a really good friend. You help them as much as possible, to get there, and then they just start liking you. They understand. A lot of human factors get into there, but I don't think there is any rule book for that, creating champion. But yeah, maybe some factors like engaging with them constantly. Be natural, be authentic. Somebody will become your champion for sure.
I'll just start from the beginning. You emphasized on asking questions and trying to get know more about the problems or any kind of an obstruction. Where do we draw the line of trying to persuade and persist versus getting on their nerves? So yeah.
Yeah, great question. When you ask a lot of questions, people might feel, I think any question looks good as far as the tonality is good, maybe, and the way you modulate. There's a lot of sound thing that you have to learn, maybe as an engineer. I felt that after hearing many people asking questions on YouTube, when to learn, etc., I felt, there are like people who have asked questions for 1 hour and nobody gets annoyed. But there are people who ask questions in a particular way, and for 5 minutes, people's like, oh, why are you asking? So maybe the relevancy of the questions, that people should contextualize very well, that they should understand that you've heard them well, and then you are able to accurately contextualize with them. B, the way you ask, the tone, and the way you frame question, the way you put the way you take pauses, all of this is important, right? Understanding your sound, etc. So these kind of factors, there's again no rule book.
Hi, I'm Vaibhav. So I have 2 questions for you. One is about the stakeholders. What are the typical stakeholders involved in an enterprise sales, right? And how would you do a motion? Would you start from a bottom up where you talk to people who are going to use the software and then go up till a decision maker, right? That's one question. And another thing is, I want to also understand what are the typical deal sizes for me, like first time founders, where I don't need to get into, it's too hard to close. Right? Like, is it 15K is a good mark or 20K is a good mark, like pricing?
Okay. Good question. So the first one, the stakeholders, see, usually there are 2 models, top-down selling and bottom-up, selling. Bottom-up selling is largely starts at a PLG kind of model, where people there are free users or the freemium or small ticket sizes people, and then you just go and tell to the top guys that, hey, you already have custom users using our product, why don't we sign an org-wide deal? So that's one approach. In that, stakeholder will again be, the economic decision buyers, whoever this economic buyer is, and there will be a person called influencer below them. Then there'll be users. And there'll also be gatekeepers and detractors, like people who do not want the deal to happen, right? So that's a stakeholder, community. In the bottom, in the top down, again you have the same stakeholder community. You have to make sure that in your meetings the economic buyer comes. And the art of calling economic buyer in a meeting is yours. Like, you have to learn that skill. That how to talk to influencers or junior guys to make sure the VP comes, the CEO comes, the global head comes, right? And you have to build that sort of narrative. Like I said, it's a narrative war. They should feel like meeting you, and there is no rule book. It's just that how you really learn this skill, and you be more authentic and natural. So the moment you start bringing that senior guys and economic buyer, and the more time they spend with you, the more chances that, and one of the metrics that I had put was how many hours I have spent with the economic buyer in a deal. Our first deal size was 150K. And that was the highest amount of time spent was with economic buyer. And he almost did evaluation with say 5 to 6 large people from big funded companies. Funding was one of the questions, why are you not funded? So all of these questions come, but the more you engage with the senior most guy in the stakeholder community, the better it is.
In my case, I'm still in the product development phase. All I have is a Figma and a few design partners. But how do we maintain the ratio of, selling our product or selling our idea to an enterprise level decision maker while having no product in our hand?
Panic management, and smartly do that smartly. So I can tell you, I had the story. I had a friend in South Korea whose dad was the friend of Samsung CFO. And Samsung CFO wrote an email to Samsung India head that, call these guys to Delhi office and get the product. It was an order, get the product. We had no product. We had a Linux terminal. And literally, I showed them a Linux terminal. I was like, and they was like, okay, this is also, they felt like this is the product. Right? And then the deal happened, right? We got $15,000, but instantly after doing that event of evaluating engineers, we said to Samsung that, look, thank you for the opportunity. We don't have a product yet. So this year we're not going to continue. And we helped them get the another vendor quickly, just because CFO ordered. And then so I'm just sharing a story that the point here is, if you have Figma and if you have broken solution, you still have to tell that you can solve the problem. Get some confidence, get the buy-in done. How you run demos is important. Like, talk about the problems that they have, show it there. I don't believe that you need to have a full-fledged product to sell to enterprises. You can sell even an Excel application to enterprises. And it's just that how you carry the demos, how you really talk about, because sometimes they have no clue how the solution looks like. In our case, we were just lucky, but that's not the way. Like we said, look, boss, we don't have a UI yet, so you can't log in. It's like, give us the login credentials. So yeah, I'm just sharing a story. So you can do that. It's just that I would suggest use your Figma file to demonstrate them your roadmap. Like, to enterprises, you also have to have decks, have two things, what exists and what is your roadmap. So they can always get a trust with you. And this partner can be bought now at this price, and if the roadmap goes on. So it's to have those decks as well. Any more questions? Great, thank you. Thank you guys.